All right. Welcome everybody to our Ascalite Learning Design Community Mentoring Program in partnership with Ascalite. It's part of our research mentoring series, and our focus of today is looking at digital professional and professional identities. Now, we're very lucky to have Amanda here today, who's well known in the particular industry across the third space in higher education and also in your own disciplinary area in accounting. Now, we have a small, intimate group. I love that. It means, our sessions is quite open, laid back. We're here to support each other and uplift each other in our capabilities. Along the space. So before we begin, I would like to recognize the traditional owners and the lands in which we're currently located. And please do feel free to make comment and also recognize where you're located in the chat area as well. I'm currently situated within the beautiful Bunurong lands here at Southeast Victoria. And also would love to pay our respects and extend this to elders past and present and emerging. All right, so before we go straight into this, just a bit of marketing and advertising and who we are, just for those who are not familiar with the Learning Design Special Interest Group at Ascalite. So between myself, Kashmira, Keith, and Kate, we co-convene and lead this special interest group. We do run a number of different types of webinars, and we have initiatives in place, open education resources we're working together on. And Ascalite is a wonderful collegial community. There is a conference that is held every single year. And it's just a wonderful community for those who are ed tech education lovers. We're here to support, share our practices in that space. So do feel free to join. We do have a LinkedIn page to stay connected. And we're all here to support each other across what we do. Um, these are faces to the names in which who we are. But before we begin, so the topic on professional network and digital identity. Now, I'm just going to stop and stop my screen because I think because it's quite an intimate group, um, we'll we'll take that away and feel free also to turn on your cameras but then I also do respect that those might be eating lunch at the moment, and I just gobbled my lunch just 5 minutes before the session started. The topic on we've got a bunch of questions for you, Amanda, right? But however, because it's such a small group, we would love to engage, the whole group as well. So we've got the chat, we've got the mic. So please do feel free to share your experiences and lived experiences and ask the questions because we're here to help along the way. So how we'll structure this, I've got a bunch of questions. There'll be time for Q&A at the end, but feel free to ask the questions along the way. This is recorded at the same time. So I'm going to throw this first question straight at you, Amanda. You've been in this space for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Um, and 2026, it's mid-year already, right? Mid-year already. What does a strong professional identity look like in 2026?
Okay. So I might start. Leanne, could you indulge me and I could do just like 6 minutes of presentation? Would that be okay?
Feel free
I've
to.
got some slides and then I will also share these with the group so that you can have them. So this sometimes just gives a bit of an interesting, useful framework for where we need to be in the space. So, hi for all these people who don't know me. Um, I set my office up very specifically because most people, young people I talk to, would recognize the silver YouTube play button. But I'm always thinking about what does my background look like to help provide subtle signals of credibility. Um, that comes down to what my office looks like. And the little picture here was a gift from when I did the Hertz keynote last year. A little bit that you can't see in the background is the little declaration for my medal in the Order of Australia. But I'm always thinking about what is the image that I'm portraying to people so that I can build the level of influence in the spheres where I act. And so that, I guess, comes down to that interesting question of why create a digital presence and a digital footprint. And all of you who work in the third space know, as well as those of us in academic leadership, trying to get people to do anything in higher education is difficult. And I know that all of my third space professionals, we don't have direct power to be able to say, you have to do this. It's always about how do we convince, how do we build relationships, and also partly how do you build authority. And so, how we do that is in lots of different ways. It's in how we present ourselves, how we look at conferences, what our slides look like, but also where we live, I guess, in our digital spaces, which is especially for us on LinkedIn. Used to be Twitter. Hello to all my old Twitter pals who I can see in the chat and in the session today. But LinkedIn has really become that place. And the market is super saturated. So many people. So, how do you figure out how you stand out, how you build that influence? And influence can be a really dirty word because often people expect that we're going to be selling smoothies or some sort of supplement or use my discount code to like buy something. But really, we want people to take action. And the original influencers who are our original scholars and philosophers were all about taking action. And that's what we want. So it's not because we want to feel popular, right? And it is quite amazing when you go speak to kindergartners of what they want to be. In my 9-year-old's group, when he was in kindergarten, so that was 4 years ago, 3 young people said at 5 years old, I want to be an influencer. And I was like, what does that mean when you're in kindergarten? So we have a very different perspective, and I want everyone to think about how they own that word. So, a strong professional digital identity can look like lots of different things, but the first thing most people will look at is your tagline. Now, we can't all be Danny. Those of you who know Danny Liu at the Castlereagh Statement and Cogniti and the AI conference at Sydney Uni, Danny can just be professor at University of Sydney because Danny is Danny. Um, but for a lot of the rest of us, we have an evolution in how we present ourselves as this tagline. So the one of Kelly Matthews there, she's the new PVC at the University of Wollongong. But I think I took this screenshot on the left of her profile tagline about 2 years ago. And the ones we have on the right are what Kelly and I both have now. So Kelly's now shaping higher ed with teaching and with teachers and learners. I moved away from like a specific role-based item of Deputy Associate Dean Education to be something broader, right? To be a bit of a broader one that I talk about with my audience. And this can be sort of hard because it's easy to start with, it pre-populates with your role and where you work. But you might want to think about what are those key things you want to be known for? And sometimes if you don't know, go to your colleagues and say, hey, what would be the one or two things that you would think of when someone says, oh, Leanne, she's known for, and I've known Leanne for a long time, so I would have originally said e-portfolios. We remember the days of e-portfolios in business schools. But think about what that one tag is, because that's the first thing people are going to see when we are looking at our LinkedIn. The next bit is sort of the practical advice. So we'll get into the practical advice and then we'll get into the questions, just so that people are noodling on some different things. So where do I start? And I'm going to actually start with the lovely Kashmira, because Kashmira has a really great profile on LinkedIn. So she's got this beautiful picture of herself, her role. She's in academic development. We could expand that a little bit because we know she's got some really great skill sets. And I love that her picture is part of her situation as well. And then her about. So the about can be really hard to write, but lean into AI a little bit here. Take your bio, try and put it into what are these things that you want people to know about you. So having a photo and then having some sort of the background image related to what you want to say about yourself is really important. But Kashmira here has all these great things that she's been doing. What I notice is she doesn't talk about her leadership role in regards to Ascalite, but that's okay. Everybody's always got somewhere to improve. So this is sort of the first bit. And when I'm meeting people at conferences or I see a great presentation, I will look up someone on LinkedIn and I'm going to look at what's in their little about. And sometimes we're really terrible at updating it. So just make sure that, once a year when you're going to do your performance review, when you're going back and you're shoving all those things in your CV, like what presentations did I do? I always try and do that every 6 months-ish. Go back and look at that about and say, look, is this still suited to me? Is this still where I want to go? Is this still what I want to be known for? If you win something, if you do something, make sure that you're always keeping that updated. Now, Colin has said I could review his and make a little improvement. Colin, I think, was this your Twitter bio photo as well from all those years ago? I suspect it might be. I have fond memories of education Twitter, as we mentioned in the chat. Colin's got a really great little tagline there about that he's involved in development, research, third space, and the Cradle Fellowship, which is really great. We've got this great photo of Colin. The only thing, Colin, I would suggest, because you are an expert, is that this standard picture that they give you on LinkedIn needs to be something else, right? That could be something related to your research. One thing I tell my students to do when they're creating this section of LinkedIn for themselves, find an empty classroom, put up some slides, and take turns standing in front presenting, right? And get your friend to take some pictures of you doing the professional pose thing to show that, hey, like you're in an audience. Or if you're presenting at Ascolite or at Hertza, get somebody to stand up the back of the room with put lots of heads in front, right? And then take this photo of people in front and you standing up there in that position of authority. Colin, I will come and do that for you at the next conference that we are at, so that you can put something right there. So, but there's always some way that you can figure out how do you make yourself stand out in that noise. So strategies generally, and we can dig into a lot of these, is the big concern is will I turn into a shameless self-promoter? Like, my child had a tantrum in Woolworths on the weekend, and this is what it taught me about leadership and management. Like, bleh. So I have a bit of a rule of threes that comes to posting on LinkedIn. So that you don't become a shameless self-promoter, something about yourself and an achievement. So when Kashmira won her best paper, she had a really nice little post there about that. Amplify something about your university, your faculty, some people that you've been working with. You've supported someone and they've tagged you and said, oh, look, this person really helped me develop this subject and we've got great student outcomes. Amplify. And then commentary about something topical. Could be AI, could be validity of assessment, could be something that you saw at a conference. So those rule of thirds can be really helpful in not feeling that ick of like, I'm always talking about myself. Because like the humble brag, we could do like once in a while, but it feels a bit weird. And then I've also got a list of other suggestions, which I can send around in the slides. Like you've got a new project kicking off, you want to ask somebody or the community about something. I got really stuck on graded class participation. I said, hey, I think I found the key papers, but I'm really like grappling with this. Does anyone have any suggestions? If you're going to a conference 2 weeks before, I always say have something that includes an image, a recap of a conference day. And then the other thing to get more eyeballs on your profile is that social media platforms thrive on interactions. Not so it's not just I did this great thing, but how do you figure out how to use the marketing aspect of a call to action? Because the more people that can add a comment, then oh, do you agree? What was your experience? Could you suggest something else? Those are all things that can be really, really helpful. And then the last one is finding the time. I have ADHD inattentive, so I'm chronically on my phone. You do not want to see the screen time hours report on my phone. But if I am waiting in the coffee line, I'm waiting for a train, I might be scrolling Instagram or LinkedIn. But if you're finding that's not your jam, schedule the right amount of time every single week. Just 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and you can schedule posts in advance. So if you think, oh, I want to talk about these three things this month, you could get on a roll, write everything you want to write, and you can actually schedule them. So that'd make it a little bit easier as well. So hopefully that's a little bit for everybody to noodle on. And then I will get the slides out to everybody. And then we can now dive into some more of that discussion-y question thing, especially because this feels really weird, right? Feels weird to be out there talking about yourself because it's sort of seen a bit like bragging, but
But that's Amanda, look, thank you for sharing it. And that's really the context of what we're trying to discuss today. I think just that last comment and last statement, I speak to so many people who who are a little bit hesitant about showcasing their work as third space on LinkedIn. And you've touched, the nail on it. Like it's all about me, 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 but how do we move from me, me, me to and you've offered some practical suggestions in that space. I don't want to ask the question directly to you, and happy for you to shed some light, but I'm also aware that we have third space folks here as well. And I'm kind of interested in other people's perspective. Why are we so hesitant to showcase our work or be on platforms like LinkedIn? We talk to a lot of people, and there's a bit of hesitance there. I'm just going to open it up, and I'm just curious, what is it like? What can we do to support each other in that
I
space?
like there's a comment in the chat. I get a bit weird and worried. What if I don't get likes? And that's a big thing that affects 16-year-olds on Instagram and TikTok,
Mm,
versus the rest of us in all these other spaces.
mm,
But the more that you can get on, the more you can see something, press a like on someone else, it's also momentum. So someone was like, "Oh man, look, I was so excited. This post got 47 impressions." And you got to start small somewhere. But the more that you build that engagement, the more you have those call to actions, then oh, thank you. Colin's already made an update to his profile, which is great.
Me too.
Um,
I updated my description. Same,
Amazing. So
instant impact.
but the more that we can, if you comment on someone else's, Instagram will show your post to more people as well. So one of those hygiene things can also be
mm,
every time when I go on, I see something that Kashmir has posted, or I see something that Leanne has posted, I drop that little like as a way of saying, I see you and I value your work. Sometimes I will leave a comment depending on time and what I want to think about. But if we can do that all for each other, then we're uplifting all at the same
mm,
time.
mm,
And sometimes tagging people can help. So if I saw a great presentation, I wanted to tag the new postdoc that was doing it. He's like, "Oh, I don't do LinkedIn." I was like, "Why not? Your work is awesome." I want
mm.
to be able to share that with people. So how can we tag our institutions, our colleagues, our friends to then amplify?
Kashmira.
Um, I I know from like a lot of mentoring that I do, Amanda, that it's very cultural, and people think so. For me, I have told this to many people, like in individual, but I want to tell it in on a forum that when I was PhD student, it took me around 8 years to call my supervisor by name and 3 years to put my qualification in my signature. So it's very cultural. And um, not that, like, putting qualification in signature will be a matter of judgment for anyone. But that's
Mm,
what I felt. So the cultural constraints are real, and so I want to kind of shed some light on like how people can overcome those cultural constraints.
I feel like it's, you know, when I travel to Japan, I pick up new customs and new ways of doing things. Like we're not funnily enough, for a half Asian family, we don't take our shoes off indoors. I know, right? But when I go to Japan, it's one of those things where we try and always, follow customs. So it can be sometimes, how do I look around at the environment that I'm in? And how do I follow some of those customs, the ones that I feel comfortable with? How do I do that in a small way? Um, I am not one of those people that puts my last 20 academic publications in my signature. Like personally, if your email signature is bigger than the message you're sending me, that's my hot take on those. Um, but it's about trying to take that small step. Um, and figuring out what is maybe I'll just try it and see how we go. And sometimes, and there was a comment there, oh, look, my last thing only got a small number of likes. Sometimes I will almost send the post to a few people that I would like to see it and say, hey, I would really appreciate it if you could repost this thing that's happening. Or if I'm trying to get students to start sharing, I've got a really great group of students who are involved in a mentoring program where I can be like, hey, everybody, I'd love for a few people to engage with this LinkedIn post if you can. So build some trusted people that you can maybe say, like, I'm trying something new on LinkedIn. I would love it if you could read it and maybe drop it a like or leave a comment. And that does take building some trust with friends. But of course, anybody here, if you ever have anything that you think, oh, maybe Amanda didn't see this, you can always like tag me in the comments, like, oh, Amanda, just in case you haven't seen this, what do you think? Um, don't be afraid to do that as well.
Mm. It's very interesting. Um, uh, I
But
think
yes, Colin did say quality, not quantity, right?
quality and quantity, absolutely. You got to start somewhere and with your close network of folks that's in there as well.
Yes, I'd be scared if
Um,
my vice chancellor actually liked a tweet or a post that I had made. I'd be like, oh, I'm more concerned
mm,
there.
mm,
Sorry,
mm.
can I ask a very quick question as well?
Yep.
Sometimes, people very high up, for example, vice chancellors, they do comment on your post, and I'm not really sure whether they mean it, you know? So for example,
They don't have time, I think, to play a psychological warfare game of commenting on our posts on LinkedIn.
no, no, no. So what I think is, so we released new strategy document, and I said, yeah, that's great. And Vice Chancellor had a very funny video of releasing it, which was fun. So I said, I commented on it, and he commented back and said, oh, we couldn't have done it without you, which is like is a big thing. But I didn't put it in my promotion application because I don't know whether he mean it.
I would take that at face value. And look, this could be a really interesting alt metric as well. So in my promotion to senior lecturer, I'm pretty sure I included tweets
Mm,
and then analytics
mm,
related to those tweets. A really long time ago, when we didn't have any guidelines on how to support students during Ramadan with accommodations for class time, giving students time to go out for prayers, sometimes when you're in lab spaces where there's no food or drink allowed, how do we make that work? And I worked with my students to develop some guidelines. And then I published it to the students. I think we did it on our own institutional education blog, but then I posted about it on LinkedIn and I said, hey, I'd love to know if there are other accommodations that people are doing that would be useful. And that thing had like hundreds of repost shares and other comments on it back in the days when LinkedIn probably wasn't as popular as it was now. And I actually used it as a metric to say, I'm really focused on the student experience, not just the learning, but all of the other factors that go around making sure that we've designed for a wide variety of learners. It wasn't the only piece of evidence I had, but it was a good way to have different opportunities and different ways that you can showcase that. I'm an AAUT assessor. We've seen all the different sorts of social media metrics as well. In those spaces, but these are people mostly dealing with students in the AAUT space. So it is a lot of like, I have a TikTok that's had like gazillions of views.
mm,
So you might have presented at a seminar, a webinar, put that up there, look at the analytics for that. Those are all different ways that you can measure your impact. Um, because it is you are working, and those of us who work in educational leadership as well, they're all soft power roles where I can't necessarily say I did this one thing and it helped this one cohort of
mm,
students in improving their learning outcomes. So don't also be afraid to ask people who worked on a project with you, what's your feedback? How do you think we went? Are you going to write? Oh, do you want to write a blog post together? Shall we write something for LinkedIn together, the academic and the third space professional, and publish it as a blog or put it somewhere? Um, because those people are also trying to figure out how do they have impact and demonstrate impact on their work, and it really is a collaborative partnership as well.
mm. think that's fabulous. I'm just looking at one of the comments that Kate you made there because you're a huge advocate for accessibility around there. Did you want to just unpack that a little bit more, Kate, around what you're doing? I think that's like another stealth strategy, but a good strategy in terms of advocating your passion and disseminating that work out there.
I guess I'm just noting that LinkedIn uh, has like features you can turn on easily to make sure that so that you can add alt text to your images and also so it can remind you to do that. So if you are looking to increase your reach, just remember that there are people who use screen readers who may not be visually looking at posts. Some of us in the field will also tend to look at posts, especially if they're talking about inclusion. If they're not, then modeling that. Other people who are maybe aren't disabled or aren't using a screen reader may still choose not to promote those sorts of posts if they're not aligned in that way. So I'd just say where you can, it's just good practice to do that. It costs nothing, and it may also increase your reach just because, yeah, I'm much more likely to promote those posts.
And
Uh,
hashtags as well. So you could hashtag accessibility or hashtag
yes.
learning design. Try not to, I think the general rule is three, no more than three hashtags. Otherwise, then LinkedIn goes, oh, you're trying to spam too many people.
Yeah. I'll put a couple of other notes in the chat, but yeah, LinkedIn groups are really useful too because you're obviously more likely to get targeted audiences that are in alignment there. I tend to mostly only use LinkedIn these days rather than others, but obviously there's other social media out there as well, like Blue Sky, Mastodon, other places. So
I feel like we
yeah, but
struggle in the other place. We've tried the other places. I don't know. They're just not the same as old education Twitter.
I think the challenge with Blue Sky is just it hasn't hit critical mass yet. Like, I mean, functionally, it's the same as Twitter. And there are some good conversations. Yeah, there's a lot of Americans there. Um, and it's kind of one of those things that we need people to be there for it to, you know, give us that old Twitter experience. But people don't go there because they don't get the Twitter experience. So it's a bit challenging.
Hmm. I think at one point we were all on Blue Sky at like particular conferences. Um, to have that sort of back channel chat of what was going on. And it's just not the same on LinkedIn to try and
No.
where is
Yeah,
Joanna Ty live tweeting so that we could follow along and then we could have arguments in the background about what the keynote said and do we agree and disagree. I just don't think it works the same.
no, the back channel's really died. Yeah, I've really noticed that in the last few years of conferences. It's just
Then you've
doesn't
just got to
happen.
sit next to the right people so that you can quietly mutter to each other.
I had a question, and I think this partially speaks to the reticence that many of us have in self-promotion. Um, but sorry, as with many of my thoughts, this is a bit fragmented, but I'm getting there. So I did sort of jokingly reply to something that Zoe said about, not getting many likes and saying that, look, it is about quality over quantity. And I actually do believe that to an extent because so I've got this weekly newsletter, EdTech must reads thing. Hopefully, some people here are aware of it. I've got about, I don't know, 750 subscribers, and that number has been pretty static for, most of the time that I've been running it. Uh, and look, I don't go out of my way to promote it. I've just started, telling people what's in it on LinkedIn so that if they aren't subscribers, maybe they'll have a little look. Um, but what I've found is, and it's really surprised me at the last couple of Ascolite conferences, has been the number of people that I've never met who will come up to me and have a little chat. And I actually find that really touching. Um, and that is the kind of impact that I'm really proud of having, I guess, because just random people, I'm having a conversation with them, but I'm not conscious that they're there, and maybe there are ways that this can be made more interactive, or maybe that's just how social media works. But I guess I'm wondering if you have suggestions on maybe how I can actually expand. Although, because I'm on the free version, I think I can only go up to about 2,000 readers before I have to start paying. But anyway,
Yeah, I think what I've seen is quite often, I can't remember in yours whether there's a call to like, hey, forward this to a friend that you think
no.
might be really interested in reading this. And then, because what I've seen in a lot of ones that have good traction is, hey, if you think this is interesting, forward it to a friend. And then also say somewhere like, oh, if you've received this from a friend, sign up by doing this. Because I think I'm one of your 750. And I I enjoy opening it and reading it. It's like, oh, what is it that I don't know already? Or maybe I haven't seen you post about online. Um, but that would be one of those ways that you can grow
Okay.
that
Mm.
and picking out bits. Like, we see this in Future Campus and in the old days of Campus Morning Mail, I think it
Mm.
was that they would be a button to be able to share something from it. So you've seen it, you've shared it, and it says, oh, it came from here. Or like this week in the blog, or the things you need to read, like the most read story from my subscribers last week was this one. So if you haven't seen it already, this is the information and you can sign up to get the newsletter, sign up. I've put the
Okay.
the link in the comments because LinkedIn also will not prioritize posts that have a link in the main body. So if you put a link in the
Ah,
comments, number one, it shows it to more people because now you've got a comment. And when the link is in the main post, they get a bit suspicious because they're like, hey, are you trying to drive people away from LinkedIn? The
okay.
algorithm won't prioritize. So it can be a little bit fiddly to then say, here is what it is. And then most people just have like a link in the comments, or they'll see a comment. Most people see a post and go, oh, there's a comment. What's in the comment? And that comment could be the link to remind people to sign up. So,
That is very
yeah.
helpful. Thank
Kate
you.
says, I keep thinking I need to do a blog. I think people are blogging on LinkedIn now. I think I've seen some long form articles. Kath Ellis is a good one at writing longer form articles on LinkedIn as well. And then that's just the hub where everything sort of tends to live these days. Um, so, hopefully that never goes away because that's the reason why I haven't deactivated my Twitter account in case I ever need to go back to get impact metrics. It's the only reason I haven't deleted it. I don't post there. It just lives there just in case.
A couple of folks were asking. Collins has put the link, and I've put the link for the EdTech must reads. So that's in the chat.
Oh, that's
So
actually the old one. I moved off Substack because
okay.
of Nazis.
Sorry. So yes,
Oh,
use
yes.
Colin's link. We'll try and put these links where if we put the recording as well.
Thank you.
Someone says, I'm always amazed at people like Joanna who can live tweet and pay attention. I suspect I do it because if I'm just trying to sit and listen, my brain will just wander off. And I think lots of people know that I'm ADHD inattentive. So this helps me also keep notes. But I've seen Joe at a seminar and she's knitting. Like she's paying attention and she's knitting at the same time. So that could be a really good option as well. Sketchnoting, I think Lauren Woodford, Lauren Woodford. It's a great sketchnoter. I do it digitally because I am really terrible at drawing natively, and I'm always wanting to rub out and move stuff around. But it's just about finding those ways. And sometimes if you have really great notes, even just here are the top three things I saw at Escalate today. And I always try and figure out what's the best emoji to go with each of the different things that I saw, as well. Instead of having a bullet point, I usually use an emoji to sort of signal that I'm starting the next good thing. Sketchnote murals at Ascalite. Ooh.
Yeah, this is well, I mean, this is we've been chatting to Elaine, and actually, well, you're on the exec, so you should already know about this. But we've got a proposal up to do like a little uh art show, so people alongside the posters, in addition to the posters, there'll be a call for expressions of interest for people to submit handmade art, but some
I think
kind
I
of
did see that. I was like, well, this sounds so interesting.
yeah. And so the second part of that will be every day there'll be a little space kind of cordoned off where anyone can contribute to a mural of sketch notes or ideas or responses to events and sessions during the day. Um, yeah, so I think that might be fun.
Kate asked, I'm not sure how hard it is to get into. I find the Chronicle of Higher Ed, I think seems very US focused, and I don't really agree with it a lot.
Yeah.
But Tim Winkler from Future Campus is always looking for good ideas, as well as the Need It Now. I can't remember what's it called.
Yeah, needed now
That's
in teaching and learning. Sally, is that's Sally's one
Yeah,
that's
I
too?
think
Sally
that's
Kift and
Callie,
Jason Lodge, yeah.
and they're always looking for something. So
Yeah, and the
I
Acolyte
can't
Club
remember where the link.
as well. I'm just thinking about like if people don't want to kind of take on the load of like maintaining a whole blog or newsletter because they only have sporadic updates, then like those are other avenues.
Yeah, we can't all
Um,
be Andrew Norton with his own blog every week, churning out the stats. Hang on, I've just found Need It Now. Um, so that's Sally and Jason. Yeah, they're always really open to new posts because people you might write it and they plan it a little bit later. But yeah, that's another good one. And look, a lot of people still on Substack because it's still the biggest place to go.
Oh, it is. Look, there's no judgment. It's just personal politics. Yeah.
Mm.
Their number one author is Andrew Tate, though. I'm just going to put that out.
Yes, that is, and I do know about the previous Nazis thing because some of the really big blogs like Casey Newton and a few others in that sort of AI space were like, oh, well, what do we do? And so I think they moved off to a different platform as well.
Same reason a lot of us left Twitter.
I just, I guess, on that note, because I'm also conscious that sometimes people want to keep ownership of their content, and that's where like LinkedIn, it's free, but obviously if you want to kind of have something that you can maintain and own, then there is free WordPress. Otherwise, even just like Google sites still exists. So,
Hmm.
like, there are ways to kind of get free options that you might be able to maintain. Um, you know, I guess, if other people have other ideas around like good, blogging or, platforms that maybe you can maintain yourself, rather than be kind of at the, onus of somebody else. I mean,
WordPress,
WordPress.
I think, is a good option. I just
Mm,
can't consistently remember to do it. I need to make time. And that's always the challenge. And I know that this is a research mentoring series, and I'm going to be at Monash next week talking about scholarship of teaching and learning and making the time. And I'm the worst person to try and find time to do my research bit because there's always some disaster that needs immediate attention that I almost get pulled into. And someone said, bring back paper-based zines. Oh my God, zine days. Love zines. Young people might be like, what is this word?
I think that there's been a real resurgence in zines. Um,
Mm.
I saw one thing which was incredibly cute, which was you could subscribe to someone and they would send you out in a physical um, cassette tape case, like eight little tiny mini zines.
Kate,
Um,
were you clapping at the mug or at the zines? Oh, the cassettes. Oh, the cassettes. I was like, surely there are not many Star Wars people Even the mugs are part of a strategy. We're a Star Wars family, not a Star Trek family.
Mhm.
So, yeah, when my students, I have a really big, very specific digital identity with my students that is about building trust with them and also about building aspiration and authority, which sounds really weird. Um, but it's all part of a very curated process. But I didn't start by just like experimenting. I guess when I started in the space more than a decade ago on YouTube, I actually had a social media public relations specialist help me figure out where do I start? What does tone sound like? How frequently do I talk to my audience? Why it was important on YouTube to have a tagline, so that when I went to pick up I received the Accounting Academic of the Year award, and like I started my speech with the tagline that opens all of my videos. And so when people heard that, they're like, "Oh my God, that's that Amanda." So it's always about trying to figure out how do you create this persona of yourself because it's not exactly myself all the time. But how do you create that authentically in a way that helps you figure out how to connect? And there are some really great people that do it on social media. So I think it's Simon Sinek always starts with this idea that he's done something that he's going to share with you that seems really weird or that he's embarrassed about because it's the hook. So what is that first sentence that's going to be the hook to get you in? Because then often, especially if you're reading on mobile, LinkedIn shows you like the first tiny bit of a sentence. So that, just like the opening sentence of a research paper, of a title, becomes really, really impactful. And realistically, we've been AIing ourselves in research publications for about 20 years now. There's some really great papers and resources that were circulating when I was a doctoral student about in these six top journals in accounting, here is what the first sentence is like in every one of those journals. Here is how the abstract is constructed. Here is what the method section always starts with. So, professors had got their doctoral students to comb through research papers to figure out these formulas. And now I'm like, well, so we've been doing this for a long time. We've been trying to sound like each other. But how do you create that authentic voice? And those of you who might know Tim Fawns, Tim has a very particular style in his questions that sometimes I'm like, it's 5 o'clock and my brain is too tired to think about this. Maybe I'll come back and think about it later, but try and figure out what is that tone that you want to set. My tone on Instagram is really different than my tone on LinkedIn, and that's really different from the tone I have on Reddit. Um, though I wouldn't imagine that hanging out on Reddit is probably somewhere where
So
you would
why
go from a professional perspective unless you're facing a lot of students, which is what I do. It's a scary place. If you want to really find out what students think about.
So, Amanda, why it is important to have different voice or tone in different platforms? It's just
Different
because of,
audiences, right? Different audiences. So, LinkedIn, I'm talking to my peers and I'm talking to my students in that more professional position of authority. So, I'm sharing about the great work other people are doing, things that I'm seeing, my own work. But I don't go onto Instagram and say, hey, I have a new publication that demonstrates that students are still cheating as much as they did before. Or, that's not really what they're there on Instagram for. They're there on Instagram to get better, to number one, hear about stuff related to university, but they're also there for their own social well-being and feeling of community. So that is where I am building more of a parasocial connection of this is who I am as a person. I love playing TTRPGs. So if you're a Dungeons and Dragons person, we play Daggerheart, which is a variant because I have kids and we don't have time for initiative order and doing all of the more complicated mathematics that comes with D&D and different types of damage. They know I love Star Wars. They know I love to cook. It's about showing me as a whole rounded person and also amplifying important things I think they need to know about university. And I can speak more casually, like, here are the three things you need to know so that you get a good timetable, right? really quick, short, sharp things, things that are happening on campus. On Reddit, Reddit is usually where students go to complain or when something has gone really wrong. And that's where sometimes they need an academic to actually say, oh, I don't think your academic might actually be doing the right process here. Here is the rules on what should be happening. Or, yeah, so you got caught for misconduct with Gen AI and you know that you did the wrong thing. My advice, be honest, take it on the chin, use this as a learning opportunity. So, or I like, oh, should my academic have done this? I'm like, oh, maybe, maybe not. But that is sort of my way to keep my finger on the pulse of when things start to go bad. I found out about the Canvas hack on Reddit before I got any official communication from my university. So that was a way to proactively then reach out to our cyber team and be like, hey, I know we haven't posted anything about this, but I'm seeing this. What is happening? What do we want to do? And so then once I knew, I could go back to all of my teams and say, we don't know how long Canvas is going to be out. We're waiting for an official comms, but I would like everyone to start pulling together the resources that you already would have on Canvas for your students, put them in a OneDrive folder, get a share link ready, and we're going to need to figure out a plan to be proactive. But I'm like I said, I'm chronically online. We joke about how long my screen time report is. Um, and we run little competitions where like, what's your screen time report this week? Oh. But it can be like there's an Oz academia space where we talk about academic careers and we provide advice to people about do you really want to become an academic? Maybe, yes, no. Um, and somebody said there are 100 emotional support browser tabs. Do you know how many tabs you can have open in Safari on your phone at one time? What did you say, Leanne?
500 plus
I love that you know
you
because it
save it.
means
No,
you've
I
tested
do.
it.
You save it as one, and then you have another 500. You save.
Uh,
To open at any one time, I discovered it was 320 because I had 320 tabs open in Safari on my phone. And I was trying to open another one and it went, I'm sorry, you can't do that. I was like, what? There's a limit. So, yeah, God forbid I ever have to restart my computer. I think, is it Edge? You can group the tabs and then save them.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, Chrome does that, and I think a couple others do that because I've had to revert to that now because I've had too many
Yeah.
tabs. So, and I also have a couple of different browsers so that I can
Try and
take
keep
them
things
all.
separate. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It's
Yeah.
the shame, the shame. But it's a safe
I use
space.
Chrome
And
on my phone for all my work things, so that then I only have like I really only have 5 tabs open there. But for my own personal like recipes and other things that are always open on my phone, I think I currently have. I'm gonna have a look. It is. I hate that it tells you.
Yeah.
167 tabs open. Meredith says I have 112. Look, we're all in good company here, right?
you monsters.
Don't ask me about unread emails. I figure one day I would love to try zero inbox. I just need to change jobs to a different institution to make that happen. Because I've had 20, this is my 24th year at UTS. Um, and even with that, I go back and I just delete everything from 3 years ago. I figure if it's more than 3 years old, I don't need it. If I haven't archived it, if it's still in my inbox after 3 years, pretty much don't need it, I don't think. But yeah, I wish I could be one of those zero inbox people. If that's you, I love that whole idea.
So going back to, research, mentoring, because this is about digital identity and in research. So how effectively the digital identity creation can be used for furthering or networking in the area of research?
I think I wouldn't have the connections I have now if the first time I went to an education conference, I didn't go onto Twitter and say, hey, this is going to be my first time at Ascolite and I don't know anybody. So I would love to be able to try and connect with people on Twitter before I go. little did I know that the people that pseudo adopted me on Twitter were people like Colin and Leanne and Kate and the Cradle Mob. Like, I didn't realize all these people were famous when I went to the conference and I would like meet and talk to these people and they would introduce me to other people. And I don't think I would be anywhere near where I am as an education focused academic that gets a very small research load to be able to build research partnerships and do the work that I do if I didn't have a digital presence talking about my work and then people reaching out and saying, Amanda, I saw you mention this thing about mental health and academic misconduct. And I was thinking we might collaborate. I think I'm seeing the same thing. Could we try and gather data over multiple institutions? So this has just opened up so many doors and opportunities. And then, knowing how to use the QR code in your LinkedIn app to connect with people at conferences and then send them a little message. For me, that's become really important in building my profile to be able to do things like run for the board of Ascolite, which is really hard because you just get your bio. You're not allowed to promote yourself. So, having connections really can help you figure out how you get those leadership roles, how you showcase your work, how you see something and go, oh, yeah, I think I'm facing the same problem. Could we chat about this and maybe bounce some ideas and maybe start a little research project? And everybody's really nice. So I don't think people ever, I've never reached out to someone and they've said, I don't have like 15 minutes to chat. Some work that's coming out, Guy Curtis and I are working on, came from an idea I had, and Philip Dawson was very nice to give me like a whole 30 minutes on Zoom to chat about the idea and talk about what direction it might take. And then it just grew legs. So, Felix, thank you. No. Okay. And I leave all of this stuff in my teaching and learning videos just because this is authentic me. We're going to
Nice.
stop for lunch soon. So give me 5 more minutes, okay? I may have a monkey for the last 5 minutes of the webinar. Okay.
I mean, enjoy the hugs until they are older and they have their own life and they won't even ask you when they go out. So, yep, enjoy those monkeys.
Neither of mine ever plan to learn how to drive, so I think they'll still be reliant on me. They're like, "Why would I learn to drive, Bub? You could drive us places." I was like, "Well, maybe you want academic, maybe you want freedom some days, but yeah."
Mm,
But like, if anybody wants to reach out, and if you'd like some individual support, or you think, "Oh, Amanda, could you have a look at my LinkedIn page and give me some feedback?" I'm always happy to do it because people did that for me in the early days, and I was very lucky to have strong connections in public relations were specialists in social media in the very early days of YouTube. So it's muscle memory now, just like content creation is muscle memory, but it takes a little bit to get used to that feeling of uncomfortableness that Kashmira talked about. Sometimes culturally it feels a bit weird. Like, while I seem like an extrovert on social media, on the weekends I just rather stay at home. Rather not go anywhere. People go, oh, can we go to a club? I'm like, are there seats? Is it going to be loud? Indoors activities are, I'm an indoor cat. So sometimes it is just about trying to figure out what is the persona that you could be in these spaces to help you achieve what you need.
thank you so much. So, Amanda, can you please have a look at my LinkedIn profile?
Yes, I will send you some feedback. And if anybody needs at our next conference, if you're at Ascolite, ask the moderator or someone you know in the audience to take that photo of you being the expert. Take a few because in a lot of them, you're going to end up going with the face. So I would sometimes say at the beginning or at the end, have that time to do somewhere you know what face you're making so that they do turn out well for that purpose of LinkedIn. Yeah.
Wonderful. Look, we've only got a couple minutes left, but I think I just want to say thank you so much to Amanda. Just just thank you so much. Just praise, cap, etc. And also with the wonderful conversations that we've had, I think it's quite authentic um, and we are honestly in a very collegial, sector environment. We're here to support each other at the end of the day. And I'm pretty sure anyone here, if you send an email, make a contact, we're here to help, and
Amen.
support. Now, just a quick one. We do have a final webinar, part of our research seminar series, and I believe the last one is around peer review journal. And we're still, I think we've got the date and time, but we'll share that around shortly. Thank you to Amanda. We will share the slides through. This recording will be made available very shortly on our Askellite YouTube channel, etc. But again, thank you so much, Amanda, for your time
Thank you to all
today.
of you as well. Like my first Askellite, I was like, "Oh, hey Colin, I'm really interested in this technology stuff, but I'm an academic. Is that okay?" And he was like, "Sure." And he gave me a sticker. Don't know if we still have those Tell Advisors stickers. It stayed on my iPad for a very long time. People are like, "What is that sticker?" Tell Advisors, let me tell you about it, right? So, big thank you to everybody in the space who was super welcoming when I was very new. And we're all part of one big community.
Yeah, I think Colin is in trouble because he didn't give me stickers. So
There,
yeah,
there, there, there may be. I
November.
keep finding them.
I think
They've
I've
got to
got
be like
some.
Are they
they've got
still
to be five
sticky?
or 6 years
They
old.
might
Next,
have lost their glue
Probably
stickiness.
not. No.
next Askilite, watch out.
Look, I have a long-term goal to update our logo, but I'm conscious of our brand presence, so I don't know how to manage that.
You could run a design competition.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody loves free merch. You could,
It's been discussed.
okay. I look forward to seeing new stickers then and like, promoting something on LinkedIn about make sure you're at Askellite or, connect with these people to get a Tell Advisor sticker.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.